Excuse me. At this time, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Lynn Haven City Commission and welcome all of you here. We'll begin with item number 2, which is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And I've asked Mr. Leon Miller if he would kindly lead us in our opening invocation. If you'll please stand. Thank you.
Our Father, our God, again, we come to thank you, O Heavenly Father, for things that you have passed on to us today, O Heavenly Father. Oh, Heavenly Father, we ask you to continue to bless us and give us strength and love, oh, Heavenly Father. Oh, Heavenly Father, as we approach this 4th of July coming up, oh, Heavenly Father, we ask you to just look up on us in this city and many abroad, oh, Heavenly Father. Oh, Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless all the things that's going on in this country today, oh, Heavenly Father, because we know without your power, oh, Heavenly Father, we cannot make progress. Again, oh Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for all the blessings that you have stored up unto us in thy name, for Christ's sakes ever. Amen.
Amen. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Item number 3 on tonight's agenda is the mayor's report. I just wanted to share with you, I've been attending the weekly paving meetings with city manager and contractors, engineers, and following the progress of the infrastructure and paving projects across the city. And it's very exciting seeing all of this being completed. We're almost at 18.5 miles of completed paving in about 8 months' time. And if you live anywhere in the city of Lynn Haven, you've probably seen this going on, and it's very exciting. I've been also making visits to different sites just to look and see what's happening. I'm very excited about all the Kensall Park changes, and especially the new splash pad there. It's looking really good. They've started putting the equipment in, and it's really looking beautiful. I had the opportunity last Sunday to visit with New Hope Baptist Church, or on Father's Day rather, and take part in a discussion there with the pastor and wife and the members of that church. And it was quite uplifting to listen to the discussion about the role of fathers and how important they are in our community. And so I wanted to just, even though it's not Father's Day, take this opportunity, if you're a father, to welcome you here and thank you for all that you do to be role models and a good father to your families. I had an opportunity also this week to meet with student volunteers who wished to do some community service hours for the city, and they were able to find places, and we're really excited that they're willing to do that. And then I've also been getting ready for Lynn Haven's great 4th of July celebration. I know all of you are excited. It's kind of the highlight of our summer here in Lynn Haven. We'll have fireworks and all the activities, the parade, and hope you'll all be able to come out and take part. And then also I wanted to ask the commission if I could get a motion and a second, if possible, to place an additional item on tonight's agenda, which is task order number 4 for the City of Lynn Haven half-cent sales tax design build contract. And if you would make that motion, it would be item number 16 on tonight's agenda, and then item number 17 would be adjournment.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to add this item to tonight's agenda. Is there any discussion or questions from the commission? Any questions from the public? I see none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so we'll be placing that additional item. If you will just make that note to your agenda, item number 16 will be that task order. And then I have one final item that I need to bring to the commission's attention tonight, as well as to the public. And I have a prepared statement because it is an unusual report. Although I usually do not read speeches or statements and prefer to speak extemporaneously, this statement today, as part of my mayor's report, is an unusual one. And I want to ensure that all the information I have is accurately conveyed to you, the members of the Lynn Haven Commission, the staff, and the public without omission. This statement concerns the residency requirements of our city charter and questions I have been asked regarding whether or not they have been met by a member of the city Commissioner Rodney Friend. I mean no personal attack or disrespect to Commissioner Friend, but the only transparent venue for this information is in the sunshine with the members of the commission and the public. I have several questions and concerns based on the information I have been given and questions I have been asked, and I did reach out to our city attorney for guidance. A few of these questions are directly related to me and my obligations to you as mayor, both the commission and the public. For example, number one, does Mr. Friend's residency impact my fiduciary responsibility to the city, since I am the treasurer of the city and the co-signer of every check written, including the salary of Commissioner Friend, as well as insurance benefits, all paid by the city of Lynn Haven? Second concern is whether or not votes cast by Commissioner Friend are binding if an updated legal opinion determines that he does not and has not met the residency requirements of the city of Lynn Haven since purchasing a home located at 731 North Bay Drive in unincorporated Bay County. Item number 3, whether or not Commissioner Friend's position on the TPO board as a commissioner of the city of Lynn Haven is valid. From the time I took the office of mayor, and indeed before, I have been aware of numerous citizens raising questions regarding whether or not Commissioner Rodney Friend resides in the city limits of Lynn Haven, a requirement of our city charter for the mayor, the commissioners, and the city manager. From time to time, members of the public have spoken on this issue during public commentary, and I have defended Commissioner Friend on at least one occasion, referring to the 2013 opinion by the city attorney. But now, 5 years after this opinion, I am once again being asked questions by the residents of Lynn Haven which are concerning to me. Therefore, approximately 2 weeks ago, I asked the city attorney, Rob Jackson, for an updated opinion on this question after reading packets of information delivered to my home and to my office with documents which, if accurate, indicate that Commissioner Friend lives in unincorporated Bay County and not part-time at the Mowat Highlands address for the purpose of renovation, as the 2013 opinion by the city attorney states. My additional concerns are whether or not Commissioner Friend's votes on the day-to-day policy and issues of our city are even legal if he is not meeting the residency requirements of the charter, but more importantly, as the treasurer of the city and co-signer of every check issued, if I have fiduciary responsibility to the residents of Lynn Haven, should I be signing a check for a commissioner who is possibly not legally holding his position due to his not living within the city limits of Lynn Haven? Former Mayor Walter Kelly had the same concerns about this issue and asked for an opinion from the city attorney in 2013. And according to the city attorney, Commissioner Friend also asked for the opinion as well. This opinion was based largely upon information provided to the city attorney by Commissioner Friend and is based on Commissioner Friend's statements to the attorney that he would temporarily be living part-time at the Mowat Highlands residence in Lynn Haven and part-time at his property located in unincorporated Bay County while he renovated the Lynn Haven homestead property. His driver's license, voting registration, and mail indicated he resided at the homestead property, and his intention to return to the property were all a part of the city attorney's opinion, which was also covered in a News Herald article in June of 2014, when questions once again surfaced from concerned residents. The city attorney is not willing to write an updated opinion concerning Commissioner Friend's residency at my request, because Commissioner Friend, according to the city attorney, does not wish to have an updated opinion written. I have been provided information by residents which include almost zero water usage for years at the house in the city limits upon which Commissioner Friend claims his homestead exemption, as well as average electrical consumption at both houses, with one indicating that no one lives there, trash pickup at the unincorporated residence and lack of trash pickup at the Mowat Highlands residence, and no permits issued for renovation in the 6-year period. Indeed, according to documents given to me from the property appraiser's office, Commissioner Friend claims homestead exemption on the Lynn Haven property, which is valued at less than $200,000, instead of the house where residents who provided these documents claim he is actually living, which is valued in excess of $420,000. The questions I have been asked are, why would anyone claim the lesser valued house located in the city limits of Lynn Haven, pay over $5,000 annually on the higher valued house where the commissioner and his family live, unless to convey the image that he resides in Lynn Haven when he does not? I do not know the answers to these questions, which is why I'm reading this statement to the commission and to you. My questions are not accusations, nor are they allegations which I am making against my fellow commissioner. I am representing the people who elected me as mayor of the city and asking that their concerns be answered. I have asked for a legal opinion from our city attorney, and he will not give one without permission from Commissioner Friend or a request from the majority of the commission. So therefore, I have no legal opinion to read to you other than the one that was given over 6 years ago. But my question when I met with the city attorney in our meeting yesterday was that if Commissioner Friend is actually living part-time at the Mowat Highlands residence, as he says he is, and making renovations to the home with plans to return, then why would he object to an updated legal opinion for clarity and transparency on this issue? What I do know is that Commissioner Rodney Friend signed a residency affidavit sworn and notarized in February of 2015 at the Supervisor of Elections office when he qualified to run for the second term as Lynn Haven Commissioner, stating that he resides in the city of Lynn Haven at 1804 Sutherland Road, not at 731 North Bay Drive in unincorporated Bay County, as the documentation and the information provided to me indicates, if it is accurate. Our city attorney told me that Commissioner Friend claims to have an updated opinion from his private attorney regarding his meeting the requirements of our charter, but the city attorney also told me he has not seen this private opinion. At this time, I'm making this statement to the residents of the city of Lynn Haven. I have a city attorney who will not offer a legal opinion on this matter to me because Commissioner Friend objects. I have questions in regard to my fiduciary responsibility in this matter to Lynn Haven residents as the city treasurer, and I believe the concerns of residents which they have documented with information from city and county agencies deserve to be answered in the interest of transparency. I take exception to the fact that the city attorney was willing to write an opinion on this matter 6 years ago for the former mayor Walter Kelly, and that he has been willing to write an opinion for another commissioner on this board on at least one occasion in which I was the subject and not informed. The city attorney has on numerous occasions has stated that he serves the entire commission, not any one member, yet he refused to give a legal opinion on this matter based on Commissioner Friend's objection. If the mayor of the city cannot ask for a legal opinion on a matter which could have implications on the validity of decisions made by the commission, why do we have representation by an attorney? And if a commissioner does not have to live in the city, then why do we have a charter which states to the contrary? I respectfully ask the members of this commission, including Commissioner Friend, to look at the information I was given by residents, and if you find it to be compelling, to agree as a commission for a new legal opinion from Mr. Jackson based on the updated information, if it is accurate, in the interest of transparency and the integrity of this entire commission. I would entertain a motion at this time for an updated legal opinion from the city attorney in this matter, and if you choose not to ask for one, then the lack of transparency and legal answers to what I find compelling questions and documentation will then rest with you as a commission and not with me as the mayor. Thank you for listening patiently. Is there any comment from the commission on my statements? There appear to be none.
Well, are we gonna have a discussion without a motion?
We can discuss, we can
So
comment.
we're not going to follow
and
Robert's rules.
after my detailed reading, you certainly have opportunity to speak, Commissioner Friend, if you would like.
Thank you. I would just simply ask, if it's okay, I'd ask the city attorney, has the charter changed since you rendered your opinion?
On this particular issue, no, I think there has been a charter amendment, but it didn't do with this issue.
Okay. And does the charter say that you have to be a resident of Lynn Haven, or does the charter say you have to live in Lynn Haven?
The charter says you reside.
No, that's not where the charter. I'd like the city attorney to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I believe, and I can check, but I believe the charter says you must be a resident and an elector of the city.
Okay. Does the charter say that you must use 25 gallons of water? Does the charter say that you must use a certain amount of sanitation? Or does this charter simply say that you must be a resident of Lynn Haven? You must maintain a residence inside the city limits of Lynn Haven. That's as I understand.
As I stated before, my understanding is that the charter says you must be a resident and an elector of the city.
Okay. Okay.
Mayor,
So
Yes, Commissioner.
let's put this to bed to rest. I make a motion that we ask the city manager to formulate a new opinion on this issue.
Okay, I will second that motion with a caveat that if the opinion comes back the same, that the mayor will pay for it and not the taxpayers. The only reason I'm opposed to a second opinion because nothing's changed. Nothing has changed in our charter. I meet the charter requirements. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. I meet the charter requirements. If you want to ask me individual questions, if you would like to submit me questions, I will answer every single one of them. If you want to ask the question, why would someone have their homestead at 1804 at a lesser value home than the other home that's 425 feet or yards outside of Lynn Haven? Why would I do that? It doesn't make good business sense. No, it doesn't. But I love this city. I was elected to serve this city, and I pay the extra money to meet the charter requirements as directed from the city attorney and my private attorney. Before I ran for re-election, I hired a private attorney from Tallahassee to render an opinion to let me know if I qualified to rerun as an elected official in Haven. When he came back and said yes, that's why I ran for a second term. I meet the charter requirements, plain and simple. And I can't help to recognize the timing of the comments made. Thank you.
May I speak?
Yes, you may.
Commissioner Friend, I don't have an issue, or let me say I don't have an issue with the timing, but I do want you to know I have received these same questions over a year ago, and I think I came to you at that point.
As a candidate, yes,
I received an
you did.
envelope with your water bills and everything from concerned residents.
And I greatly appreciated that, by the way. As a candidate, let's make it clear, you weren't elected. You came as a candidate, and I greatly appreciated that.
And I did take that to the city manager at that time, and I won't repeat what I was told because I wasn't really given any kind of answer. It kind of got chuckled off and a couple of little remarks. But I just wanted you to know and everybody else to know that this is not the first time this has come up. I've dealt with it on a few different occasions. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mayor, for the record, I am of the opinion, from what I understand, that he is considered a Lynn Haven resident. But I made the motion because I'm tired of hearing it, and I want it put to rest. I think if we get this opinion and it says he is, I think this commission doesn't need to bring this up again.
And
I would agree with you.
I totally agree with that. It amazes me at the timing, and of course, everything else that's involved with this. But I agree with you, Commissioner Russell. It's time that we need to put this to rest. Commissioner Friend has done a fabulous job on this commission. He is an asset to our city, and he has an opinion that he paid for out of his pocket, and the attorney ruled before he ran for office that he could indeed run for office again. So for this to come up is just absolutely absurd, and I totally agree. Let's put it to rest once and for all. Mm-hmm. And let's move on about doing the real business in the city.
I appreciate the comments of everyone on the commission, but I would like to also reaffirm what I said. This was not an attack on Commissioner Friend. These questions did not come from me. I have defended Commissioner Friend before using the 2013 opinion, but the packets of information, one delivered to my office, one thrown on my front porch with me, there's a lot of compelling information, and there should be transparency, and I thank you for the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to say one thing. I think it's important for residents, for the people that we represent, to understand. Commissioner Friend feels very secure that he is doing the lawful thing, and with an attorney's opinion, I just think we need to make sure the residents understand, no matter what the finding is, if he's legal, then we need to make you understand that he's legal and why. Because I can't answer those questions when people come to me asking them. And so I think once the finding is done, I think we really need to make sure that the people understand.
Thank you.
Well, the only thing I would add is I want to make sure that people understand this is your dollars. This is the lawyer doesn't work for free, and he's going to render an opinion. And I would dare say the opinion is going to be the same. Why? because the charter hasn't changed. If you want to change the charter, you've got till April. Change the charter from residential or maintain a residence to live. Doesn't make sense. I'm not going to go into why. But just understand that, yes, if we pass this and we do it, it's just, and nothing has changed. Only the water use, the sanitation use, all that's changed. Nothing else has changed. 1804 is my homestead.
But I would correct you that the charter has not changed, but the charter does not say maintain a residence. That's not the wording of the charter.
Can we, let's
Yes,
look it
if
up?
someone will pull it up right now. It does not say maintain a residence. That's not what the charter says.
Okay, stand by. So you're suggesting that it says live?
No, I didn't say that. I
Okay.
said it
Well, you
doesn't
said
say
early- you
maintain.
said
It
just for the-
doesn't say maintains a residence is what I said.
You said earlier lives. It says
now,
residence.
I'm
Has to be
saying
a residence is what it says.
Would you want to read it one more time?
I hope it's loading. I think I had it saved up here.
It does not
It
say
says-
maintain a residence.
It says residence is what it says.
Mayor, may I?
Yes.
All right, so just for clarification, Section 12 of the city charter discusses qualifications of members of the commission, and it says, members of the commission shall be qualified electors and residents of said city. And then there's a bunch of other
It
stuff.
says residents of said city.
That's a
It doesn't
different-
say, but does that say live?
There are two
Does it
very
say
different.
residence? It says
There are two
residence.
very different meanings in the Black Legal Book for resident, residence, lives, dwelling. There are many different, but what you just said, maintain a residence, is what the charter says, is not what the charter says. So now if we could move on.
Mayor, I call for the question, please.
Please go ahead.
You need to call the roll.
I'm sorry, I thought you said you had a question.
No, ma'am, I need to call for the question.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll, Mr. White?
Mayor, if I may?
Well, there's been a call for the question, which I've
But
done,
the-
but I'll allow it. I'll
The
allow it.
motion was different, or second was different than the motion. And I just want to make sure that's clarified.
Okay,
before we
please go
any
ahead,
further.
Commissioner Russell.
Motion was to have the opinion. The second was to have the opinion, and if it's the same, you have to pay for it. I just want to make sure that we understand that the motion was different than the second before we vote.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
I think that is ludicrous. I think that it's one more discriminatory thing done against this mayor, but I, like you, would like to see this put to rest.
Then-
And so if it takes me having some money out of my pocket to pay for the opinion so that this can be put to rest, and I hope it's put to rest positively despite there's anger. I know that I feel that. I'm sorry. I'm doing what I was elected to do. So yes, I will accept that motion, and yes, I will pay for it.
Okay,
Then I need
in
to-
regards to that, then I'll amend my second and make the second as presented by Commissioner Russell. And for clarity, there's absolutely no anger.
Well, you asked me to pay for it.
Because I just don't want taxpayers to pay for it again. It's the same, nothing has changed.
Well, you
That's-
asked for it the first time. I didn't.
Yes, no ma'am, the first.
Did you
well,
pay for the first time that you asked for it,
the
is my
mayor-
question.
mayor-
Let's move on from this,
Well,
please.
Mayor, no, I don't think we should. I want the record to be clear. Mayor Kelly asked for the opinion. I said absolutely. Mayor Anderson, when you came on board, you asked for the opinion. I said absolutely. I think as the clerk, as the mayor, you should ask that question. Once you get your answer, I think we should move on unless something changes. And nothing's changed as far as the charters, and I meet the charter requirement. So that's all. And so I will second the motion as presented by Commissioner Russell.
Thank you. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender, Commissioner Barnes,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Moving on now to the Commissioner's report, item number 4. Commissioner Russell, do you have a report?
We're going to go with no report.
Commissioner Tender, do you have a report?
I really don't have a report. I've been dealing with a couple of code enforcement issues, and I think the city manager's working on that one. And that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Barnes, do you have a report?
Just for the benefit of the audience, the farmer's market is back at Sheffield Park. Michael, what day and time, or Vicki? First Saturday of each month, sir. First Saturday of each month, so it is back at Sheffield Park.
Was that all, Mr. Barnes?
I'm done.
Commissioner Friend, do you have a report?
Yes, ma'am. Also had some, just FYI to everyone, I also had some code enforcement calls. We have a new code enforcement guy, just a little FYI. So, so he's doing a good job. Also met with some folks from Tallahassee on Rails to Trails. Also met with the local rep from our new local rep, Adam from the Florida Trails. So I continue to work on Rails for Trails, exploring opportunities for funding. I attended the opening night for the kickball. I want to thank everyone involved that put that together and having that out there at the sports complex. It was fantastic. I have to say that the fire department smoked the police department. You see what I did there? And then but I'm sure the police department will come back with full force. But anyway, that was a lot of fun, and those guys had a great time. What a great time. Team building opportunity for the staff to get out there along with other people in the community. TPO meeting tomorrow. And also honored to Thursday, we'll be kicking off the Dixie Boys State Tournament baseball. So throwing first pitch for that. Excited about that. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 5 is the city manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. Fixing to call Ben up here. We have our business of the quarter. It's a new program. This will be the second business that has been chosen. And there's one near and dear to my heart. It'd be Pat Perno and Beef O'Brady's. I don't know about a lot of kids in here. I know my son and myself grew up in Beef O'Brady's playing baseball, and I still, unfortunately, my ugly face is still on the wall in there several places. So I really thank Pat for what he does for the community, his generosity. He has donated me so many times over and over, and it's just hard when you're trying to do these things for teams and find those companies willing to open their heart, open their pocketbook to help you. But this time I'd like to ask Ben come up, tell you a little bit more about Beef O'Brady's, and Pat, if you want to come up, and I think you brought some people with you, didn't you? All right, y'all come on up.
Don't be shy. Come on. You stand right here, and you guys can just line up behind us. Got plenty of room here. As the city manager already mentioned, the business of the quarter for the second quarter 2018 is Beef O'Brady's. If your child has played any type of sport in the last couple of years here in Lynn Haven, this gentleman, Pat Perno and Beef O'Brady's, more than likely supported the team of your child or the league the child was playing in. So thank you so much for all the things that you have done for this community. I know you're working behind the scenes. You're just helping. You're not making a big deal out of it. Tonight is the night where we would like to thank you for all the things that you do. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you to the commission and the mayor. I'd just like to say that I think it's important that I have these people up here with me. I told them, I kind of duressed them to come to say, hey, I wasn't going to accept this by myself, because it's really important that I live by a creed that, you know, we have the best people in our chairs, and we have the best people taking care of the best people in our chairs at Beef O'Brady's, and this is wonderful community. I made a reconnection. I used to run the Ruby Tuesday at the mall back in the day, and when we moved back up here, I'd like to thank my lovely wife, first of all, for telling me she was going to move back here with or without me. We ran a Beef O'Brady's in Melbourne before we came here, and that was my hometown, but let me tell you, Lynn Haven, Florida is my hometown now. So, and these lovely ladies and people, y'all mean a lot to us, and hopefully we'll be here for generations to come. So thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 6 is the city attorney's report.
Yes, Mayor, I just have a couple comments and just guidance, I guess. As city attorney, I have a difficult role sometimes, as a city manager does. I try to represent the city the best I can and all the commissioners individually, and sometimes those things become incompatible. And so when I make those, it's not easy to tell the mayor that you can't give an opinion on an issue, or any commissioner for that matter. And so I try to balance that the best I can. What I want to, and that's the policy I've kind of had over the years, and what I want to just clarify that as long as the commission's okay with that kind of policy, versus if someone tells you to do something, you do it regardless of what's going on. And so the policy that I've kind of had over the years is that if you have a question about your role, the city's position, or anything that is not personally directed towards another commissioner, then I'm more than happy to do that without contacting anybody. But if it's something directed at another commissioner or the mayor, I will contact that person first to make sure that it's okay to proceed, unless I get guidance from the full commission to proceed, which we have tonight. And so I just want to make sure that everyone, the commission, understands that's kind of my position. And if you want me to do something differently, I'm more than happy to do that. Some commissions and cities have the policy where if a commission asks the city attorney to do something, he'll do it or she'll do it. And typically that's the way I have done things. However, in this particular instance, I felt like I needed to contact the other commissioner. And so that's all I wanted to say. If there's any other, if you all want me to just do, hey, someone asked you to do it, go do it, or bring it back here, just let me know.
Appreciate that. Thank you. At this time, I'll move on to item number 7, which is public commentary. This is an opportunity, if you're a member of the public, to speak on any topic. And this can be something that's on tonight's agenda, or it doesn't necessarily have to be on tonight's agenda. Yes, Mr. Robitaille? Did you wish to speak? If you are going to be speaking, if you'll come to the podium and please speak loudly and directly into the microphone so that everyone can hear. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor.
Good afternoon.
My name is Dale Robitaille. I live at 1805 New Hampshire Avenue. I've been coming here for 18 years. It's a long time. And during the dark days of the Kelly lynch, I saw some real crap down here. I saw people pulling numbers that you would not believe and getting away with it. But you know what? We struggled through that because a lot of people in this town, like me, really love Lynn Haven. And it really bothers me that I have to come down here and see our dirty laundry struck before the public. This comes to a simple issue, and we don't need Jackson to tell us the answer. You can come to my house. You will know whether or not I live there. You can point to anyone here, and ask if you can go to their house. And you will know whether or not they live here. We don't need legal opinions. This is the most basic issue. The most basic issue. It's a matter of public trust. You are either a resident of Lynn Haven or you are not. The mayor doesn't have to get a second and third opinion. Hell, we had one 5 years ago. This is ridiculous. I do not like our dirty laundry being spread, and I especially do not like Mr. Jackson refusing to accommodate a directive from the mayor of Lynn Haven. I sincerely regret, sir, that I'm going to be right behind you, finding out when you will be done with. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight on any topic? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. 2 questions, if I may. The first one, we haven't heard much about Marina Bay Island recently, and my thought is, have we ever received our half of the funds as revenue for the rails that we were going to receive?
I don't believe that that money has been received. As far as the progress on Marina Island, the development agreement is not in place yet, and I think there is a lack of communication occurring right now between that developer and the city, but I will turn that comment over to the city manager in case he has something that I have not yet been made aware of. I don't think so, though.
I concur with you.
Okay.
So I'm understanding that the money they promised that half that was supposed to come to us has not
We've
been
not
received.
yet received it.
Thank you. That was question number one. Question number two was, my husband and I, unfortunately, were not here at the last commission meeting, and a friend of ours was, and she gave us a recoup what happened, but there was also some very interesting information in Commissioner Tinder's article in the Lynn Haven Ledger, and I was confused on a portion of it. If you could please set me straight, I would like that. And it says here that...
Would you like for Commissioner Tinder to answer your question or for the mayor to answer?
I'm not sure that she knew either according to what
go
she
ahead.
said here.
Go ahead.
It came to the portion of... You wanted to change the present splash park that was headed to the sports complex, and you wanted to change it to now occur at Kinsel Park. And it came up that Commissioner Tinder made a motion to do so.
I think you have the park names confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the sports complex, and it was going to
Kane
Griffin. I'm sorry, you're right. And no one seconded the motion.
That's correct.
Okay. Could you not have passed the gavel and seconded it, Mayor?
I could have passed the gavel and seconded in the motion, but as I've found in the past when I've done that if you don't have enough people on the commission that no one else is even willing to second a motion, you're not going to have the votes
You're
present.
not going to have the enough votes to pass it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's why I didn't.
My husband mentioned a previous occasion, and so I just thought maybe...
I've only passed the gavel one time since I've been mayor, and I had a
Yes.
bad experience of how the public was treated by the person who had the gavel.
That's
so I
what
don't
he had
do that
mentioned.
anymore.
And he asked me to ask the attorney whether or not there was something written in law, but obviously it wasn't. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, sir, in the back.
My name is Paul Lewis. And
Could you speak up just a little bit, sir?
My name is Paul Lewis, and I was in the last commissioner meeting, and concerning what the lady was talking about. And see, I'm not here to challenge, so like as far as the decisions that was made about the splash park going to the sports complex.
Okay.
But what I do want to know, if there's money in the budget for one to go at Ken Griffin Park, and if any money is left over from that park, could it be set aside for Ken Griffin Park? And see, my main concern is the idea of one being at Ken Griffin Park. And that way you have one on the west side, you have one on the east side, and there'll be one central located. And see, that's the concern, not to challenge what already been done or been made, but the idea that y'all saying that y'all gonna put one there at Ken Griffin Park.
I think the indication at the last meeting from everybody sitting up here was that after that decision was, when it remained the same, that the splash pad was going to be at the sports complex, I think there was a consensus among the sitting commissioners that it would be part of the budget visioning process. Now, I don't know what funds are available and what won't be, but I know that I think that is a consensus that the commission agrees. I believe Commissioner Russell said that he thought one should go there, and I believe Commissioner Friend also said that he would be in favor of putting one there after the one was built at the sports complex.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bob Schultz, 509 Pennsylvania Avenue. Can you tell me when the first one is supposed to be done, the splash pad?
It is scheduled for operation within just a couple of weeks. I believe that it will be ready for testing probably even around the 4th of July, but the consensus of the builders and the contractors working on it, like they've installed the slide and some other parts of it this afternoon. It's really pretty out there, but they're going to try to get up a fence and have it protected during the 4th of July ceremonies with all the, the different people that will be there. It'll be a very huge crowd, and for safety issues and also because they won't have had time to do test runs on it, they're going to try to maybe project mid-July to have the grand opening is what we're looking at.
Okay. Another question, are we going to have a summer music festival like we used to have?
The discussion that's being held right now, we had the spring concert series because the weather is cooler and less apt to have the afternoon thunderstorms like we're having now. And there is discussion with city staff right now about the possibility of a fall concert series once the weather cools off again, so it'll be similar to the spring. And I don't know if that's finalized, but they're working. I'll let
Not finalized yet, but we're working on that budgetary.
Okay. Last question. Can you tell me how much the renovations to Sheffield Park cost approximately? Was it like $500,000, $250,000?
the renovations to Sheffield Park.
Yeah.
There are different budgets that went toward that park. There were grant budgets. I know there were two $50,000 grants that went toward that, and I don't know the exact amount above that, Mr. White. You'll have to help me with that.
I would have to pull all of the numbers together, but I can get you that number. It's the grants, it's CRA money, and it's also some city money. Okay. And we had some personal donations as well.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Anyone else have anything tonight? Yes, sir, in the back. How are you this evening?
My name is Richard Gibbons, born and raised in Lynn Haven.
Can you get a little closer, Mr. Gibbons, please? Thank you.
Okay. I met with the mayor. We had an issue. I'm president of the Lynn Haven Raiders. We had an issue with the rental of the field. I met with her and Mike. They took care of it for this year. And we talked about, the Raiders are 51 years this year, bringing them under the umbrella. I would like for further on for y'all to think about, talk about, vote on us coming up with a plan to where we don't have to fight for a field for the kids to play. Lynn Haven's ahead of the game in Bay County. Inside the bridges, nothing gets done for the kids. It all goes over the bridge. Lynn Haven's leading the pack on that, and I hope y'all continue to do that. And I don't care if it's kickball or whatever it is, as long as the kids are active and doing something. Of course, I'd like to put the Raiders on the top of that, but I appreciate everything y'all are doing. I have talked to municipalities about what we talked about, and as soon as I get a full plan, I will be meeting with you. We appreciate everything y'all do for us, okay?
We appreciate that, and we're looking forward to that partnership if that is able to be worked out. I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit of what Richard said. We did have a good conversation, and we did work out some differences in the way the ordinance is read with the fees. One of the things he and I did discuss is the city of Lynn Haven looking at trying to bring the Raiders in as an official team of Lynn Haven, much like we do a lot of the baseball and stuff, and still use their board structure to help run the league. But it's one thing that probably may be in the budget. Richard and I's got to get back together. So if y'all kind of leave that open in your mind as we get to budget time.
Yeah, as long as it's the Raiders is we got commissioners, we got doctors, we got NFL players. I mean, it's all the way across. And I love the Raiders, but I mean any sport, any swimming. We've got swimming fans here, and what y'all are doing, we have to continue to do, and we have to build inside the bridges. I mean, everything going over the bridges just makes me mad every time I open the paper. And what y'all have started is a good step in the right direction. I mean, tracks, we don't even have a track the kids can run on unless Tommy Oliver. I mean, our kids can't go, and you can't get in Tommy Oliver unless you got a pass from somebody special, because it ain't going to happen. Our kids should have tracks or cross country, swimming. They ought to be able to do anything they want, and y'all are in the right direction. I appreciate if y'all continue heading that direction.
Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Mayor,
Is there? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Russell.
I wanted to applaud you on the way y'all handled the issue. I mean, y'all reached out to the commission. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I know I had several people call, and that's what we're up here for. You know, I mean, I got calls from y'all, and I called Michael and I says, I know what's going on, but you got to work this out. Yeah. So, and obviously y'all have got, you're on the right track. But thank you for letting us know there was an issue.
Yeah, okay. We really appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Yes, sir, in the back.
Madam Mayor, City Commission members, my name is Ben Burnham. I am not a living member in Lynn Haven. I live in the outlying county. But from the outside looking in, I wanted to say thank you for what you're doing to take the lead to making something happen. Richard and I have, oh gosh, for decades tried to get somebody in the county to listen, to better develop facilities for these kids, football fields, somewhere where we can have functions, where we can have a positive, progressive football environment, or sports for that matter, but more football because it's going away. So I ask that y'all please continue working to try to develop something for these kids. Nobody else is doing it. You guys are the only ones doing anything in a positive manner. And for us, that speaks volumes. And we're working hard, but I want to encourage you guys to try to look at options for, I'd like to see Lynn Haven take the lead on this. And we met a long time ago with that. I wish, and I'm the one that sent the lengthy reply on Facebook, but I want to thank you all for what you're doing. It really is not going unnoticed, but I would really like to see some things put together in stages, I understand, to help develop things for the kids in Bay County. We need a football stadium for these kids to have these functions. The city, the county is not doing anything. They're too busy paying attention to the beach, and quite honestly, I could care less. There's a lot of people that live on this side of the bridge. So we need something for our kids in our area, not necessarily to push something else to the beach.
We thank you for those very kind comments, and I would like to just let you know, in case you haven't already heard, but our city does have an application in with the the Triumph Board for a $15 million expansion of our sports complex, and we've gotten the pre-application approved, and the city is working diligently right now on the kind of lengthy application, but a $15 million addition to our sports complex would mean the world to the community, so hang in there with us, and hopefully that'll happen. Thank you.
Mayor, could I just make a comment?
Yes,
quick?
Commissioner Friend would like to
Mayor. I don't want to let
something.
the opportunity go by, since a lot of you guys are here, to just tell you personally how much I appreciate everything you do out there. The Raiders was a big part of my life for so many years. My daughter started out there as a cheerleader and ended up cheering all the way through high school, and now she cheers for varsity and UCA, so she gets paid to cheer. So I appreciate everything y'all did. I call it a return on investment. So thank you very much for what you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I represent football, swimming, baseball, soccer, gymnastics, you name it. We're in it. Scouting. We have a huge problem against the school board for pool time at PCST up at Mowat. The lights, same issue we have with the lights at the baseball fields. We don't need any more baseball fields. We're good. I know you love baseball, but we're good. We need some swimming pools. I hope that $50 million has a pool at it that's covered. We need track. We need cross country. These kids, that's all we got. So, also, I need a sidewalk on North Shore. You know where the call center is? My kid right now is trying to get home from Mowat football practice. He has to cross that road with everybody that seems to run into a fence or a tree or something on that road and cause an accident. There's no sidewalk. A lot of the kids that have after-school activities don't have a sidewalk along that street. People are trying to run. I run 4 or 5 miles a day. I'm down that road all the time. 5 a.m., I'm damn near getting hit by a car. So maybe we could put that on there too.
Thank you for letting us know your thoughts. Anyone else? Okay. I think we've come to the end then of public commentary. I appreciate your participation. We'll move on now to our consent agenda. This is item number 8. This is the just the minutes from the June 12th regular meeting. I just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any questions, corrections, or comments about the minutes? Any questions from the public about the last minutes? There appear to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Russell.
Yes.
Commissioner Friend.
Yes.
Commissioner Tender.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the minutes are approved. Then moving on to old business, Item 9 is the second reading of ordinance number 1056. This is amending Chapter 10 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances to add specific language to the care and control of animals, including a revised fee schedule. And there will be action required because this is the second reading. Mr. White, do you have the ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 1056, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 10 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances regarding animals, adding specific care and control requirements, defining neglect and abandonment of animals, providing for enforcement and penalties for violations of this chapter, amending the fee schedule in Appendix A of the code relating to animals, making other corrective revisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh.
And I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Do we have a schedule of what we're going to, the fees that are going to be associated with abusing and leaving your animals?
It's on the
Yes, on the back of the,
It's in here.
Oh.
it's on the Exhibit A.
Yeah, it's at the back of the ordinance. It's got all the different fees.
Was that okay, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
there's been
just wanted to
For
be
instance,
stiff.
the one we did talk about quite a bit about annual dangerous dog permit, that'd be $200. We also have a dangerous dog investigation, which that'll be $300. You know,
Every time we're called out?
yes, ma'am. That includes 14 days of boarding, and then we'll go through the dangerous dog hearing appeal. They have to pay all that. So,
Amen.
okay.
Okay, there's been a motion. I have not heard a second.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances with the specific care and control of animals, including the revised fee schedule. Are there any other questions or comments from the commission? Are there any questions or comments from the public regarding this matter? There appear to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the motion is approved. Item number 10, this will be the second reading of ordinance number 1057. This is for the voluntary annexation of Ronald W. Mowat property, Highway 389's 390 intersection, and action will also be required on this item. Mr. White?
Ordinance number 1057, an ordinance annexing to the municipal limits of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, certain contiguous compact unincorporated land located directly west of County Road 389, south of East Highway 390 in Bay County, Florida, for an approximate 8.93 acres of property, as more particularly described herein pursuant to Florida statutes, section 171.044, amending the boundaries of the city to include said land, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and reciting an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Actually, we had 2 seconds. Any further questions or discussion? Are there any questions from the public? Apparently there are no questions. Did you want to say anything, Ms. Richard, before we, okay.
I'm here if you want me to.
Apparently no one had a question, so we'll go ahead. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so it stands approved. Thank you. Item number 11, and if you want to hang out in case there's a question on this one, the second reading of ordinance number 1058 for the small-scale future land use map amendment. This is the Mowat property, Highway 389-390 intersection, and action is also required on this item. Mr. White, do you have the ordinance?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 1058, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from Bay County residential to City of Lynn Haven commercial for an approximate 8.93 acres of property located southwest of Highway 389 and Highway 390 intersection in the City of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There has been a motion and a second. Are there any questions that you would have of our city planner, Ms. Richard, at this time from the commission, or comments? There appear to be none. Any questions or comments from the public on this item? Yes, sir. If you'd just address the questions to the commission, and then Ms. Richard can.
My name is Brad Yunt, 210 Lakeview Terrace, and I'm observing that the property is located near two very busy highways. And does that mean that the entrance and exit to said property is going to be from one of those two highways?
Thank you.
This is not a development order application. This is a future land use map amendment. So at this stage, they do not have to identify because there's no site plan. We don't know what will go on there. It's a land use amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the public? Okay, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes? Aye. Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so it stands approved. Item number 12, this is the second reading of Ordinance 1059, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Regulations, NPDES. This is amending Chapter 70 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances, and action is required on this. Is there a motion? Well, excuse me, I'll have to ask Mr. White to please read the ordinance first. It's number 1059. Thank you.
Ordinance number 1059, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 70 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances to add National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System regulations relating to the city's stormwater system, providing specific procedures and criteria for the city's stormwater system, providing for enforcement and penalties, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any questions about this ordinance or comments from the commission before we move forward?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
Could you give me, could the city manager give me some background on the reasoning behind this and the possible cost that it's going to affect, end up costing the city?
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, please.
This has to do with the DEP, some regulation that we have to administer. As far as cost, I could probably ask Greg if it, because Bobby is not here tonight.
Oh,
there he is, Bobby.
I mean, is this something that we are being forced to do?
Yes,
because
sir.
the DEP is saying we have to do it?
Yes, sir.
Another one of those.
Bobby Beck, Public Works Director. What this is we just renewed our 5-year permit with DEP for our citywide stormwater, and they had some concerns that we didn't have enough teeth in it to enforce the private developments to maintain their systems. Our ordinances, we could, we could control them, but we couldn't control the private ones, so they wanted some more teeth put in it, and that's what this is about. So part of our permit, we're required to do it.
So this is more of an enforcement issue for
Yes.
private development? Okay,
Private,
thank you.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I believe you were asking about cost. I don't know, do we have any cost estimates, Mr. Baker?
Oh, no, this just gives us teeth to go after them.
Okay, I was just asking for
So there's no
Mr.
cost
Russell's.
associated.
Yeah, it should be a development cost. It should be something that's going to cost the developer if we have to correct it. So
Correct.
I see where you're coming from. Thank you, Bobby.
And is it
Thank you,
for-
Mr. Baker.
And is it for future? I mean,
Yes,
this is
yes, ma'am.
nothing, we're not going backwards or
ma'am.
anything,
No.
this is for
From
future.
this point forward, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, there's been a motion and a second, and are there any other questions from the commission? Are there questions or concerns from the public about this? Mr. Robitaille?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I apologize for my ignorance on this issue, but I'm like everybody else here. Things do get wet when it rains. My question is, are we actually going to, the public, see anything of this? I remember during the dark days, the state came by and said, you will do this, that, and the other thing, or whatever. So they hired a man to go around every intersection with a GPS. And I think after thousands and thousands of dollars, we never did figure out which way the water flows. Are we going to see anything out of this? Are we going to actually have it any better on New Hampshire? Or is this just a matter of technical things adding to?
I would be optimistic, Mr. Robitaille, and hope that it is more than just, something written on a piece of paper. I, like you, have lived here a long time, and I've seen my share of raw sewage flowing through ditches and other unpleasant things, and hopefully this will put some teeth into some of that. We'll see.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did anybody else want to comment? Okay. At this point, is there anyone else who wanted to comment tonight? Okay, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so it stands approved. Moving into new business, item number 13. This is an approval to enter into contract with the Bay Haven Charter Academy Foundation to provide school resource officer services to Bay Haven Charter Academy for the 2018-2019 school year, and this does require action. Do we have a staff report on this item, Mr. White?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bay Haven has contacted the city, Matt Reamer, Chief of Police, and we have given them a cost which has been approved by their board, and they're asking the city to provide another SRO officer for next school year.
Okay,
And of course, that will be at their cost.
thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion for approval and a second. Any discussion from the board?
I would just like to ask, what does it cost for an SRO officer or whatever?
The contract says it's $93,354.
I'm in the wrong business.
Well, that includes a lot of benefits, car,
Equipment and everything.
everything that they have to have.
Office?
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
So. Any other questions? Any from the public? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so it stands approved. Item number 14, this is the approval to appoint Mr. Dale Robitaille to the Infrastructure Half-Cent Surtax Oversight Committee to replace Jennifer Vigil. Is there any staff report?
We was given this name. Of course, this was a seat. The lady, unfortunately, had moved from our area and had to be replaced, and Ms. Tender offered Mr. Robitaille as her replacement.
Okay. Is there a motion for acceptance?
Make the motion.
A second? There's been a motion for Mr. Dale Robitaille. I'm assuming he is a volunteer for the Infrastructure Half-Cent Surtax Oversight Committee to replace Jennifer Vigil. This is the, every commissioner is allowed to choose someone or to bring someone forward, and this is Ms. Tender's choice. So there's been a motion. Is there a second?
In support of Ms. Commissioner Tender, second.
Pardon me?
In support of the motion for Ms. Tender, because it is her recommendation, this is her seat that she's asking to be filled, I will second the motion.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any from the public? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
No.
Commissioner Russell?
No.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So the motion stands approved 3-2. Item number 15. Congratulations, Mr. Robitaille. Item number 15 is approval of a gift agreement from Chief Gary Keel and Rescue Chief Vicki Keel to the City of Lynn Haven. Is there a staff report on this item?
Yes, ma'am. Anyone comes into the office up front to pay their water bill, they'll remember seeing the old 1945 water pumper that we had for the fire department. A little historic about that truck. That truck was the first brand new truck the city of Lynn Haven ever got as a fire department. From before that time, they kind of made things, the volunteers did. This truck's very sentimental and is still in really good shape for its age. I think it has a little over 13,000 miles on it in 1945. And the special part about this was during World War II, when the government was not selling any trucks to cities and municipalities for trucks like fire trucks because of the need for steel back then. So we tracked the truck down. Of course, Chief Gary Keel and Rescue Chief Vicki Keel owned the truck. Entered an agreement with them through using our attorney. Specifications that they wanted the city to do is the city's intent to restore this truck and use it in parades and use it as a showpiece for the city instead of letting it die in some place out in the woods. So it's staff recommendation that you all agree to this agreement.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
There's been a motion for approval and a second. Is there any discussion from the commission? Any from the public?
Just for the benefit
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
of the audience.
Commissioner Barnes, did you want to be recognized?
I do.
Go ahead.
This fire truck, as Mr. White said, was the first fire truck that the city of Lynn Haven owned. This truck fought a lot of fires inside the city limits of Lynn Haven, and this truck also would actually work when some of the newer trucks that we had at the time, and I say we because I was a volunteer firefighter here for many years, when the newer trucks would not pump like they should, number one, which this truck is affectionately called, would actually put the fire out. So it has a lot of sentimental value, I know, to the kills, but it also has a lot of sentimental value to me because I actually helped fight fire using that truck. So just wanted to throw that in.
Thank you for letting us know. Is there anyone else who has a comment about the fire truck? Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and I would like to congratulate you, Mr. White, for going, full force ahead to make sure that this came about, and you were very instrumental in that happening, and we all appreciate it, all of us here who love the heritage and the historical items in Lynn Haven that we all cherish. So thank you so very much. Then moving on to the additional item on the agenda tonight, which is task order number 4, and this is the half-cent sales tax. Would you like to give any explanation or comments about this, Mr. White?
Yes, ma'am. As everyone knows, the corridor 390 is getting expanded. We have a lot of utilities in those areas, and with that, some of the utilities are in the city right away, so DOT will be paying the city some of this money. However, also there's part of that the city will have to pay to get moved out of DOT right away. The full job is around $1.9 million, so this task order is to get that work completed when it's time.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Well, first of all, is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there questions from the commission or any comments about the task order?
Yes, Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this have to do with the widening of 390?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it was my understanding from a couple of meetings ago that from 77 going towards 231 that that's been stopped until possibly 2040 or indefinitely. So why are they forcing us to move utilities now?
No, ma'am. This is for construction on the other side, going back
77 going back towards. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, and also, if I understand correctly, that this is not going to take place for some time. It's probably going to begin sometime between the fall of 2018 and spring of 2019, but
yes,
more than likely spring. Is that yes, correct? Yes. Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Any from the public? Okay. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the task order is approved, and that brings us to the last item, number 17, adjournment. So the meeting is adjourned, but I would love to thank all of you once again for coming tonight and being a part of our meeting.